In 2001, the Age Rights Advocacy Service, better known as ARAS, began working with the Council of Aboriginal Elders of South Australia in Aboriginal communities all over the state. By 2003, it was clear that many older people were experiencing abuse, mistreatment and neglect at the hands of people who they depend on and trust, often their own sons, daughters and grandchildren, and even paid carers. Strategies were needed to protect the rights of older people.
This week we've brought a group of elders from all over the state, even from Ceduna, from Adelaide, Rauken, Point Pearce, all over the place, and a bunch of youth that really disengaged and disadvantaged youth that are, a lot of them don't even know who their families are, let alone their culture.
I think nearly all of them, it's their first time they've been camping. Yeah, so it's just city life for them.
We've got a group of young people that we've brought down from Ceduna that come to the youth hub that we know quite well, and we brought a group of ladies down, elder ladies from Ceduna, and we've joined in, been invited to take part on this camp through the Age Rights Advocacy Service, the Elders and Youth Camp at Cooley Park.
3 prominent traditional women in Coober Pedy asked ARAS to hold mentoring camps so that elders could pass on their values, traditions and knowledge to young people, and to promote the role of elders as the keepers of culture.
Young ones need to know their roots, their language, their country and how they fit into the genealogies of the different clan groups.
This is the 3rd camp that ACH has been involved with, and we support the elders to come on the camp so that they can interact with the youth.
This camp wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for 3 beautiful old ladies from Coober Pedy. All 3 of them lived at Umane Aged Care in the last years of their lives, and my organisation and the Council of Aboriginal Elders, so Janine and I were doing a big project with them over a couple of years on elder abuse and how they could protect themselves and their communities from this elder abuse. And so what we did was we used to meet with them and talk with them, and they said this is the only way that we can bring community together and have people respect one another. And so they actually asked us to start these camps, and that's what we did.
The elders they're in their element because, as we know, elders love to teach. That's one of their primary roles, is carers and teachers, and they're educating the young fellows in the cultural ways, of a wide gamut of cultural activities, including language and talking about family and identity.
Getting out of the city back to nature, I love it out here, and learning how to make clapping sticks and boomerangs with Uncle Trevor there. That was good, I love that stuff. Even
today we've found a couple of elders here who have discovered nieces and nephews here in the camp that they didn't even know were around.
Coming out on the bus, we was introducing ourselves, and these 2 girls are waitress, the same as me, and they found out, and I found out that I'm their auntie.
People have been connecting here that's with family that they didn't even know about.
It's pretty exciting, and just want to know more about mob.
And also we want to talk about mutual respect. Respect of the elders, which is an Aboriginal tradition and part of your culture, but also respect of the young people, because they too deserve respect.
I just want to say, particularly to all the youth here, nobody at this camp is any more important than what you are. We're all the same. We all have the same spirit. We all have journeys that we take. Some of us have been around longer than others. I want to particularly introduce the elders in a minute, but it's through the experiences that the elders have had that you can learn things from them, so don't feel embarrassed to go up and start talking to them.
The kids also have a lot of information about the organisations that are involved, and so they will have an idea of what work is done to prevent elder abuse in their communities. Traditionally, Aboriginal communities pay a lot of respect to elders, but somewhere along the line, sometimes that breaks down. and elders get abused. So we want to empower people to actually take that message, to work with their communities, to actually say elder abuse is not okay. And us young people are going to make it right for elders as they get older.
I know it's hard trying to hold back that tide when you feel it washing over you.
A couple of these kids have been really shy to start with, and you couldn't get 2 words out of them, and they're all walking, I reckon, a good 4 inches taller now. They're walking with their heads high. And
really makes us proud to be able to come somewhere and to be given a welcome and talk about your country as it relates to our own places where we come from.
The lack of role modelling and the lack of construct in a household and stuff like that, the typical model of a mum and dad and a couple of siblings and a cat and a dog, that's not existent for these people. They're already in the realms of dealing with issues around alcohol, tobacco and other drugs and stuff like that.
If you do your part, will enable the Aboriginal culture to keep on going forever and a day. We owe it to you, and you owe it to other people, the little tiny ones, your little brothers and sisters and cousins and that, to be able to learn as much as you can so you can pass it on to them.
But what little love that they get is in a false setting. There's no true depth of looking after and encouraging these young people to have a vision about what's going on next year or the year after.
Hopefully in this camp at this time, we will all go home to our respective places feeling more loved and feeling that we can give love to other people.
Elder abuse is a sensitive issue. Through their work, ARAS and the Council of Aboriginal Elders of South Australia have brought the subject into the open so that the rights and well-being of older people can be protected.
So this is our crew of young people, and then still up the back there.
It's a very complex issue when we're talking about elder abuse.
What these groups and these meetings that we're having mean to do is to educate people, young people, about what it is that you need to know for a healthy life.
There are financial abuse, physical, social, emotional, psychological. Some people might be doing things and they might not even realise that what they're doing is elder abuse. And by sitting down with the elders, talking to the young fellas about what elder abuse is and how to combat it, and just to teach them about respect.
Hopefully they take that message and they become ambassadors in their own communities against elder abuse.
First I was going to come because I didn't know what I was to expect, just to come out here and seeing, it's like...
Desert,
yeah, not used to this, yeah, compared to the city lights in Adelaide. When you come out here, it's like, get to know the elders and, get them to teach you a few stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
Deep inside of you, let it shine. Hey, I'm talking to you, let it shine.
But many years ago, as a young guy that first went to Coniba, I never had much to do with old people in days. But I met an old man sitting he was blind and he was in a shed. And old Auntie Ruby Cox said to me, go in there and talk to that old fellow, he'll tell you a startling story.
You're supposed to know where you come from, you're supposed to know your background, your history, all that. Yeah. And I literally don't know anything.
He related the story, what happened at Elliston on the west coast here. Just by the turn of the century, whole group of Aboriginal tribe was wiped out. They were pushed off the cliff at Elliston, and they all died in the sea there. And I thought this was an old man rambling on this. I said, all right, okay, I'll listen to this. And he told me his name was David, and his father was Womberdy.
It can teach you a lot, just being around the elders, like picking up the language, like sitting down with them and yarning with them, like we're going to yarn with like Auntie Di and that later on, and then one of the other elders are going to help him with like bush medicine and that, like all this stuff, that we can't do in the city.
What happened was when the people were all pushed off the cliff and they perished, this couple were coming back in a horse and cart, and they heard babies crying in the salt bush. They went and had a look there, and there was a half-caste baby and a full-blood baby in the salt bush. That half-caste baby was the old David, and the full-blood baby was Wombat.
That's the thing as well, you know, like Maryland and that, you know, because they actually, you know, go down like where they come from. They go there regularly, you know, go see their family down there. You know, I don't know anyone that lives in Rakan, you know. The first time I ever went to Rakan was last year.
The people there said there's been enough killing, so we will grow these kids up ourselves. So they grew those 2 kids up, and I was fortunate. I didn't meet the old bloke, but I met old David, and he told me that story.
And that's what I love about these movies, you know, they help you, they let you do what you want to do, you know. They give you opportunities to to be who you want to be, you know.
All I want to say is now that I appreciate very much being with all the young people. I'm the oldest guy around, I know that. I always felt a softness for young people, because growing up myself, we grew up in the era when it was a lot different to what it is today.
I just want to grow up and tell my kids where they're from.
Yeah, I know.
So it keeps it going down.
And that rocky road to freedom, find you on that slippery slide, and you're looking for their shoulder, you got mine. Anytime.
We've enjoyed the camp to date. For those that don't know me, my name is Les Krapineri. I'm an Ngajari man from the Coorong part of South Australia. Also, I found out I got links with the Wirangu mob over this way, so I got dinner in both camps.
My name is Cyril Kobe. I was born in Darwin. My father was a Spanish Filipino from the Philippines. He married my mother in Bathurst Island community.
Education-wise, I got as far as first year high school, doing a repeat of the Murray Bridge High School. At that stage, I was the only Aboriginal person going to that high school, and being told by the principal at the time that we don't really want you here, but we've got to take you.
During the war, we were taken away from there, and I was brought to Balaclava, the rest of the family, whilst I was there, because my mother died when we were very young. There was about 6 kids, and we were all about, the youngest was about 3, and the eldest was about 9.
I've had various jobs over the years, from working on the railways for 8 years. I was called up for national service in 20th of April 1967, second intake of that year.
We went to Balaclava, and I was taken away and put in a boys' home. But I did not regret that when I was brought up in Boys Town, because I was the only Aboriginal with a group of 78 boys, and I was the only Aboriginal. But what it taught me whilst in there was that a lot of respect for one another, a lot of understanding, and I had a good education and a good Christian upbringing. I'm not a dyed-in-the-wool Christian, but I had that Christian upbringing that helped me throughout life as well.
We've left from Outer Harbour on the HMAS Sydney, troop carrier. It was an aircraft carrier converted to a troop carrier, and then that took us from Outer Harbour up through the Java Straits, throughout Malaysia there, and finally Vietnam.
Because I became a very serious alcoholic, and they told me I was dying, and I realised that, but I don't know what happened. I started praying like mad, and eventually came out, but I decided to do something with my life, so I joined the Aboriginal Health Organisation in Norwood. And I worked there for nearly 40 years, all told, right along backwards and forward.
It's been a, I suppose, hard road at times. There's sort of memories that that linger on, that you try to put to one side, but some of those memories are there for life.
I was brought here as an elder, and I think primarily to talk to young people or listen to young people, and I think to try and give them some guidance and support. That's what I went for. I didn't go there to preach to them or, to tell right from them. I think they will learn that in time themselves.
Down the track, you'll want to start a family, and then what's going to be your responsibility? Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, have a good time and go somewhere else? Or you're going to accept that responsibility of being a united couple? Discipline, responsibility. But the good time was there if you want it by being responsible.
My mum and my dad split up when I was little, and I just grew up with my mum, so don't know much about it. Yeah.
A couple of youth from Ceduna area have had a bit of a different upbringing than the lads we've brought over from Adelaide, who are all disengaged, and some of them have, had some pretty traumatic pasts.
Yeah, it's just me really. I'm the only Aboriginal in my family, like besides my dad, yeah, but he lives up in Darwin.
Hopefully they've learnt from some of the youth that have been brought up by their families here and have had that contact with their culture and with their elders all their lives.
Because I grew up with white people, I didn't really feel like Aboriginal for most of my life, but then once I started going white line, hanging out with like black fellas, it's just made me feel more Aboriginal, because I'm starting to learn lingo and stuff like that. So it's good.
Gets a little hard to find. Let me be your peace of mind. There's one thing I know and it's true. There's a light that's shining deep inside of you.
Hope you all get together, come in this place here and enjoy yourselves. But me and Maria grew up at Nullarbor. Grew up as babies, grew up with my mum and dad there. We always lived there in Nullarbor. We go there and visit our country.
My father was a Scottish man from Arbroath in Scotland, and my mother was Aboriginal from Canberra. My father always used to provide food for us. We either had kangaroo or emu or fish. It was a really good lifestyle living back then, not like it is today, but we had food rations, food stamps. And then situation happened where Mum trusted in a welfare lady by the name of Mrs. Mackenzie, and we all ended up down in Adelaide in the homes, fostered out. Young ones need to know their roots, their language, their country, and how they fit into the genealogies of the different clan groups.
This particular camp was planned by the three ladies from Kubapidi, and they saw it as a way of bringing troubled youth that are disengaged into their culture and teaching them about respect for elders and respect for their culture.
Well, see, I was lucky because my grandmother was my mentor, and we were shown part of a Jugabar. Well, I know the full story of the Jugabar of the Seven Sisters.
If you can have a kid that in the beginning, doesn't even really know what the word elder means, they just think that you're talking about somebody that's older than me. Why should I respect someone that's older than me just because they're older? But they've come to realise now that these elders are full of knowledge and love and compassion for these kids.
I was lucky when I was taken away. I lost a lot of things, but coming back, I picked it all up because the land tells you the story. And I knew the story in my head, even though I hadn't been out on the land for many years. So it all came back. And I think it's important that the young ones learn that because it's really important for them to continue it on.
The three great older women from Kubapidi have since passed on. Their legacy is in raising awareness, encouraging elders to speak out about elder abuse, and informing young people about the values of their culture and the rights of elders to be safe from harm.
The young fellas, like I said, give them a bit of room. They will bump, they will clash. But, one day you'll remember and look back and say, oh, I can remember that you as a little boy, and then you see how big and strong they'll grow.
The boys went out last night and they got themselves a southern grey kangaroo in English, and in our language, in this country, we call this a golbeda.
We've also got to encourage elders to know that their life experiences, will add value to any young person's life. It's about the sharing of that information, and talking about experiences that they've been through.
The Adelaide kids were saying, oh, I don't eat kangaroo, I don't eat. So we changed the format and made some rissoles and that sort of stuff. And now all those kids are eating this sort of stuff, I mean, this is part of their history, part of their culture, part of their growing up, Their parents would have eaten this sort of stuff, back in the day when it was really hard days.
Because without those discussions, young people have an opinion that the older generations haven't had any issues to actually to deal with in their lives.
It's just really good to see the Adelaide kids get out of Adelaide and have a look at a different lifestyle that's out there, instead of just that, you know, go home, catch a bus up to this Highney Street on a Friday, Saturday, you know, night. They're looking at another world now, you know, they're in another world out here.
'Cause there's one thing I know and it's true. There's a light that's shining deep inside of you.
We're at Kudley Park on the far west coast of South Australia, having the Kudley Park Cook-Off, as it may be, sponsored by ACSA, the Aboriginal Health Council of South Australia, and we're in conjunction with the Age Rights Advocacy Service and a few other providers out there.
So who's preparing what here? We've got mushrooms and
chicken and pasta going on that moment.
Yep.
I do cook sometimes.
All right. What sort of stuff do you like to cook?
Similar stuff.
Similar stuff to this? Yep.
Yep.
And your meal is?
The chicken teriyaki.
Chicken teriyaki. Beautiful. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yep.
Chicken curry with rice.
Chicken curry and rice?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
About ready to roll out and present your meal. I must say, 3 young guys here putting the recipe together this afternoon, and they've looked very much in control most of the afternoon. Congratulations to you all for your preparation and sharing all of the utensils there. I thought you'd done really, really well. So we'll leave it forward for the judges to see how they go with it, eh?
Yeah, see what happens.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. What did you think about this afternoon? Obviously, you pulled off first prize there.
Oh, absolutely. Blood, sweat and tears into that meal.
It seems like there's a bit of a fracturing around, you know, letting go some of the old culture and trading that in for mainstream Australian sort of way of living, you know. So, and that's a battle for each and every individual young person as well, you know, like they need to figure out how much of their culture they want to hold on to or relinquish, as opposed to how much of mainstream sort of setting they want to live in.
They'll have a lot more respect for more people around them, because back in the city it's just that they fend for themselves, so there's nothing out there too much for them. They're not learning from anybody back in the city, except for mentors and case managers and the people that work with their families, like what Lion does.
During the camp, it's great. They get that bonding going, and you know, they learn respect and tradition. But it's the things that happen after the camp, the stories that we hear after of kids that have gone on to do better things.
As our young people develop a sense of pride and place in their culture, they become equipped to be ambassadors and champions for elder abuse prevention.
Let it shine. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Let it shine.